Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we're back. We're going to talk a little sports here, and joining us now is Dr. Dickie Haydale, such a beloved figure here in the community. But we're going to talk about what we know as the old tunnel run, which started, I think he had to end up at Vanderbilt, and we're celebrating the 50th
That's correct.
anniversary. So before we talk about all the nostalgia that goes along with this, 50 years. When you started this, did you think you were going to do this for 50 years?
Actually, I don't know. It just kept going and going and going for 50 years. It started off back in 1974, and Randy Ziegler was president of the American Heart Association in Houma, and he asked me to try to figure out some ways to raise money. And at the time, running was kind of one of the things to do. So we put two things together, a tennis tournament and a tunnel run. And we figured we'd found a 3.1 mile distance that we could start at Vanderbilt High School, bus the guys to Burger Chef on the other side of the tunnel. They'd run through the tunnel and end up back at Vanderbilt.
You had such great, I remember we were 14, me, Harry McCullough, Brian Molazon, we were running in it. And I remember I was a miler at Vanderbilt at the time, but there was no way any of us were going to win it because you were bringing in ringers in that race. You had Greg Jones and other people that were just so much head above everybody else. You had some intense competition develop.
Well, I didn't have anything to do with it. The run had something to do with it. I didn't bring anybody in. They just showed up when they wanted to show that. I guess that they could run that distance faster than anyone. And it turned out to bring some good runners came in to run. I had some runners from New Orleans that come in, and we really had some pretty good races.
So do you remember how many you started off with back when?
Yes, I remember the very first race we had 18. In the finish line, you got one of my office tongue blades with a number on it, and that's how you decided how you finished in the race. But we've progressed quite a bit since then.
And it just grew and grew and grew. What did you sense that you're very charismatic? I know you don't sense that you come off this way, but I'm going to tell you that you are very charismatic, and it's hard to tell Dr. Dickie no. People gravitate to you. You've been like that your whole life, but it kept growing and growing and growing. When did you say, whoa, this thing's getting pretty big?
Well, when we got our first 1,000 runners, that's when we figured it was getting pretty big. But actually, it grew a little bit every year. It kept getting bigger and bigger, and the number of runners increased. And we hit 1,000 a couple of times, but most of the time the runners were somewhere around 300 to 500 runners. And they all have such a good time, it's hard not to have it every year when the same people show up and are having a great time. It's hard not to do.
Look at this old footage we rolling in. We've been digging up some footage. We got a lot more footage on the tunnel run. I remember we used to ride in cars hanging out the window filming. This was the 20th annual, but we had footage even before this and after this. So the T-shirts, did anyone ever keep all the T-shirts that y'all gave away?
I don't have all of them, but I have quite a few of them that I'm going to bring there for the 50th run and have them on hangers, and they can kind of look at them and see what they look like over the years.
Look at you now. If you don't look like Scott, or Scott looks like you, I should say, I'd have to look at this footage twice because, I mean, y'all are just a spitting image of each other. My number one question would be, are you going to wear one of those old T-shirts?
I'm thinking about it, but I don't think they're going to fit me anymore. The old ones I got, I don't think they're going to fit me.
Go to a seamstress. Tell her to put some elastic on the side.
I can cut the sides out and kind of wear them like an apron, you know.
What was the point of doing it? How did this whole thing originate? What was your mindset?
Well, the mindset was to raise money for the American Heart Association. We had nothing to do about T-shirts or anything as we started. There was quite a few years before we decided to add T-shirts and prizes and anything like that. We started off with little plaques and people still have plaques hanging on their wall from when they came out. Then we had to go to age divisions because other runs had age divisions, and then we went to medals. Now we're giving out medals, and this year I think we're going to have something special. I'm not sure what the boys are going to come up with, but it's supposed to be something special.
But you have a board and everything. You got a board of directors. Man, this thing's gotten big.
Well, I have to laugh about this board. They're all 80 years old. They're not really board of directors. It's kind of like a bunch of friends that get together and help me do all this. I don't really do anything. I just kind of get these guys together, and everything seems to fall into place.
So you like to manage. You lend your name to the cause now.
I guess that's what I do. Caddy Stratman, Robichaux does all the work. I just kind of sit back and watch it perform.
She says, Dr. Dickey, you got to be here, and you got to be at HTV, and don't be late. Be here early, right?
That's what she told me today. She sent me the text, be here early.
Wow, that's incredible. So who are some of the runners over the years that you remember the most? I know we talked about Greg Jones. He won a few of them, didn't he?
Well, Greg Jones was the one I remember the most, but we've had so many different guys finish year after year. I can't give you the names of any of them. There's been so many different ones. For 50 years. I'd have to come up with 50 names.
When did the women start? It was co-ed the first year?
Well, when we first started, we didn't have a male and female. And as it got bigger, then they started complaining. So then we went to male and female, and then the older and the younger started complaining. So then we had to go to age groups. So that's kind of where we are now. Then the people who couldn't run started complaining, so we went to runners and walkers. So now we kind of have a little bit of all of it.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, let's talk about the 50th. I know the 50th is big. Everybody wants to be a part of the 50th. We're going to talk about that. We'll be right back more with Dr. Dickey Haydell, the 50th anniversary of the Tunnel Run. The name has changed a little bit, but it's still the Tunnel Run, okay? We'll be right back. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we're back, and joining us is Dr. Dickey Haydell. We're talking about the longest running 5K race here in the community, and that is the Tunnel Run. We always call it over and under now, but back when it was the Tunnel Run, it's still the Tunnel Run. And it's Saturday, April 12th. And, of course, Dr. Dickey has always been involved in athletics. State champion at St. Francis. We did a show on that recently. And no one can ever take that away from y'all.
You got
That's a great honor. But you've always been big in sports. You grew up with sports. And before you answer that, D-I-C-K-Y, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder how you got the Y, but you were telling that story. I want the audience to hear that story. Tell that story.
Well, we had 10 kids in the family, and my mother wanted everyone's name to end in Y. So we had Betty, Jerry, Tommy, Ronnie, Bobby, Judy, Dickie, Kathy, Patty, Peggy, and all of them ended in Y. The only bad thing that came out was when my brother Ronnie opened his drugstore, it was R-O-N-N-I-E, and she never forgave him for that.
So there was a little method to all of this.
Yes.
All right. So that's something I never knew after all these years. Sports was such a big part of your life. You played ball at LSU. Of course, you played ball at St. Francis. Was this just a way to not only to raise money and sort of fall in line with what you do as a doctor here in the area, but it's something you love to do?
Yeah, I did some jogging for a while when I was in Vietnam. I got into running. But I never was very fast, but when I came back, we did do some running for a while, and I did run in quite a few tunnel runs at the very beginning. Never won any, never got a plaque, but I did manage to make the mile.
You can't
3
win your
miles.
own race.
Well, I could at the beginning, but now I can't run in my own race anymore.
Look at you right here talking to the kids, and you got that megaphone, and trust me, the ones right up in the front, they can hear you, but the ones in the back can't. And it got to the point where you needed a megaphone because the line was so far back. I bet that was a good feeling.
It was a great feeling. And look, it brought tears to my eyes to see that many people showing up year after year to run in this run. And it's just a great feeling when you put something on and you see this many people come out and participate in an event to raise money for a good reason and a good cause. Mm-hmm. It just fills your heart up and makes you all excited for them.
And that's why we encourage everybody to go out, because as competitive as our group was, we never went out there trying to win any medal. It was all about the camaraderie and the getting together. It was a social event. It became a social event where you could go out and see your girlfriends and everything else, but it don't matter how they came out, they came out. But in the front of the line, you could tell all the ones that had that serious look, they were trying to win it.
You got that right. The ones that are serious are always in the front. They have their watches ready to pluck it when it's the go sign. But a lot of people can do it over and over, and they check their time. They run against themselves.
Right.
They try to see if they can beat their time from the previous year.
Over the years, do you remember any specific time when weather might have played a bad function in it, or do you go no matter what it is?
Well, we've had several runs in the rain, and one time we had really bad weather, it looked like, and I got the whole group of people there, and I asked them if they wanted to run, and I said, we can call it off, or y'all can run. Everybody wanted to run. So we walked out to the starting line, it stopped raining, we did the whole run, and we came back, and then had another great time with the run.
Yeah. How did the over, the bridge and the under affect the time?
I did. About a minute and a half.
I wouldn't know because I couldn't run it at the time. But thanks for. But I imagine it takes quite a burden.
It's a lot longer, but they're still running great times. They're still right around 17 minutes, which is pretty more remarkable for this amateur group.
But you can't get when you're going over that bridge and then in the tunnel, you're right. I can imagine that's just so strenuous a race at that point. So the time when people probably look around the state or whatever at the times and they say, wow, the times went up. Yeah, that's because you added a bridge. How did that idea come up?
Well, it all started, we had a regular tunnel run from Ever all the way up to about 1996, and that's when they finished the twin spans. And I was sitting there talking to Patrick Haydell, and he was telling me, he said, Dickie, if you don't change that run to an over and under, somebody else is going to take advantage of that bridge. And got to thinking about it. I figured if we didn't do it, somebody else was probably going to think about it and do it. So we went and jumped on it probably right after the bridge was built and changed the run from over just under the tunnel to the over and under.
And you said you didn't run the bridge part?
I never did run the bridge. I felt I was kind of old to run the bridge part. So I used that as an excuse.
I bet a lot of people got out at that point. I said, I would rather be on the board.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right.
But I imagine, what's the youngest person, or what's the youngest age you could get in?
Any age can get in it. We have the children's run that do the mile right before we start. But if some of those don't want to do that run, they prefer to do the over and under.
Yeah, so they want to be with the big dogs.
There's no limitation to what age you can run.
Yeah, this is incredible. We still look at it, and this is the part you love right here. You have always been good with kids, and I've always wondered, why weren't you a pediatrician? I know you see a lot of kids anyway. You ever thought about being a pediatrician?
Well, no. I was thought about being an OBGYN, but as it ended up, when I came back to Houma, I got to where I was already delivering babies, so I figured I'd go ahead and just stay here and do all of it like that.
Well, you're right. There's nothing you can't do. You probably do it all.
I did it
it's
all.
It's part of your practice.
That's it.
And so we'll do this. We'll take one more break. We'll come back. I call him the legend. He's a legend in this area. Dr. Dickey has been in charge of the tunnel run for 50 years. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about how all this came to be.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we are back with Dr. Dickie Haydell, and we are talking about the over and under tunnel run. Let's bring up that graphic if we can, Jay, to let everybody know that on Saturday, April 12th, and you could still register. Who they call to register, Doc?
Well, you can register online if you want to do that, or you can just come the day of the race. We have an open registration counter that you can just sign up for at the day of the race.
It's just like you don't turn away anybody, right?
We never turn around anybody.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
for
you
darn
can't
sure.
ride a bike, and I know a lot of people have asked about wheelchairs, but insurance problems, right?
Insurance has killed our wheelchair and our bicycle running.
Yeah, so, but if you can walk,
You can
separate
walk.
division.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not going to walk this year because I'm playing in the band. Thank you all for bringing the cane breakers on. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun.
Unbelievable. We're so excited.
And we're going to call you up there for a song. You're going to do a Billy Joel song
Well, you
with
got to let me know because I don't know the words to them. I just know that I just shake when he
Which
sings.
one you told me was your favorite song again?
For the longest time.
The Longest Time. All
That's
right.
my favorite.
We're going to do, you play that in the piano?
Sometimes.
All
Not
right.
very good.
Yeah, well, we're going to have two keyboards up
Well,
there.
I'm not going to be able to play good enough to play with y'all, that's for sure.
It'll be fun. But now, I know our band is really looking forward to it. And like I said, that's one of those things that everybody wants to be a part of. That's got to make you feel good that something you were there in the inaugural stage of it had just blossomed to something that everybody wants to be a part of.
And it's very exciting to see that happen.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem to want to stop. So as long as it wants to keep going, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. How old were you when you started?
I was 24.
When did you go to Vietnam? What year?
The year after I got out of my internship, I was 22.
Okay. So you were already a physician, went to Vietnam, and you spent a whole year in Vietnam.
Solid year to the day.
Wow.
Couldn't get out a day early.
And then you came back. And did you go to the Haydell Clinic right away?
Well, I had to do a year in San Antonio for general medical officer there, and then I came home right here home to work.
So you weren't here a year, and then the tunnel run was started.
Well, I was here actually a little bit long. I got here in 71,
Oh,
and the
okay.
tunnel run started in 74.
Okay, so 3 years. Were you one of those that was just a part of what the Haydell family did? Y'all sort of looked for things or ways to be involved in the community, huh?
Yeah, I think it just happens. And somebody asked me, and we came up with this idea, and it kind of stuck, and it's been sticking for 50 years. So I don't know what to say about it, except it's
That's
been
just
quite an
like you to
experience.
deflect, because I know the Haydells have done so much. Y'all so modest about everything. But when you look at all the logistics that takes place over the years, who's in charge of all the organizing and making sure the applications get filled and making sure the meetings take place? Who's in charge of that?
Well, before it used to be just me and a few little guys like Harold Haydell and Eddie Palaro and Mike Walker and my brother Ronnie, and we would kind of sit there, and that's how it got started.
How did y'all get the meeting finished? That's a motley
But
crew.
then it grew. Then it just grew to where we had all the girls that were in charge of the American Heart Association in Houma. Those girls would do most of the work for us, and as it grew, there was only 4 of them, and then the last one was Caddy, because she's taken over everything. She does everything, and now we have the hospital to help us, and Elmi Fonge over there does a wonderful job with us. So those two together do everything. I just sit there and say, "What else y'all need me to do?" And they say, "Not much. We got it all taken care of."
So you look sort of like Bobby Abe. When everybody says Bobby got his own restaurant, I said, no, Bobby doesn't own the restaurant, but they use his name and they want him for marketing. So Dr. Dickey has morphed from making sure the race happens to, we want to see Dr. Dickey, we want him pinching our cheeks, we want him smiling, but a lot of other people are involved.
Very much so. Very much so.
That
Thank
is
you.
fantastic, unbelievable. Are any of the children gearing up to take over?
Well, I'm hoping Chad's been kind of like my assistant, and I'm trying to build him up to where he can eventually do it all. But he's kind of hard to push to get everything done like I wanted to. But he's come a long way. But he's a big plug in this rascal.
You remember when I coached Chad in the 8th grade, huh?
For you.
That was a good team.
Y'all
We had some
They had a
talent.
great basketball team,
Yeah.
but they all left after that year. If you remember.
Yeah, they were all
They all
gone.
quit-
I don't know where they went.
They all quit playing basketball, but y'all had a great team.
They were big enough they could play football.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're
that was a
right.
good team for sure. I was in college and they called me back to coach the 8th graders. I'm going, I got a loaded team here. We might do
Y'all-
pretty good.
Y'all were undefeated. That was
Yeah.
fun to go watch y'all.
We wasn't as loaded as y'all were your senior year, but we were all good. So what the longest standing, race, the community's longest running 5K race. What kind of publications have you talked to over the years? Do you remember?
What do you
I'm
mean?
sure New Orleans stations came
Well,
down.
we
to
know
cover.
we're longer than the Crescent City Classic. We're much older than the Crescent
Yeah.
City Classic, and I don't think there are any more 5K runs as long as the Tunnel Run anywhere in Louisiana. And I do think it's the only run over and under the same body of water anywhere. So I think that's a pretty remarkable thing to have in this community, one of those runs like that. And I'm glad to see all the people who do like to run and who enjoy being together as a family outing. I'm glad to see them all come, and I certainly am happy to have them there with us.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to bring up the pamphlet once again, and you can come challenge yourself, run over the bridge and under the tunnel. And if you survive it, you get a T-shirt, I'm sure. That's going to be fun. And listen to the Cane Breakers after. We're going to have a good time. Dr. Dickey, thank you so much for what you've done for the community. We appreciate it. And thank you for coming on the show. And I'm going to see you on the 12th.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be a great time.
And wear that first T-shirt y'all
I
ever
think I'm
gave
going to
out.
have that oldest T-shirt on just for you.
All right, thanks, Doc. All right, there you have it right here from Bayou Time Sports. And we'll see April 12th at the Over and Under Tunnel Run. And rain or shine, they're going to run it.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.